2024 at 5:01 PM. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're gonna return the favor when let me go first so I don't have to be there in the evening. So we are gonna move up the Northern Berkshire School Union School Committee agenda. And I realize not everyone could be here. It was a little short notice, and I know there was a lot going on with graduation, but we felt that we want to make sure we get all on the same page before June 30th. So we're starting the next fiscal year off all on the right foot. So I'll just start with that. I know we've had a lot of issue with this shared services, and I know a lot has gone on in the last 2 weeks to a month about how we're going to handle it. So from what I understand, and anybody can jump in, Kelly, jump in whenever you want, and Lisa, it looks like Roe is going to take over some of that responsibility. As far as, and what's that part of it called?
The vendor part.
Okay,
Sorry.
so that's fine. So Roe's going to take that over.
They're voting on it on Thursday.
They're voting on
But
Thursday.
Because we met on the 4th and it was Tuesday, so by the time we kind of came up with that, they couldn't put it on their agenda, so they did it, they discussed it, I guess, under emergency, but they didn't want to vote on it,
All right,
so.
that's fine, as long as, like I said, as long as we know.
That's the plan right now.
As long as we're moving in a positive direction. And then the other thing, of course, the big concern to Clarksburg is getting the funds that we haven't received over the past years. We want to make sure we get those straightened out. And John Franzoni sent an email this morning saying that there's going to be like a 2-week process where they're going to be able to check in. Did you see that email, Kelly, at all?
Yeah, I did read it.
And Lisa, so I don't know.
So, where are you talking, I know that there's the issue with the pension, the Berkshire County retirement payments from the towns, that they got the bills. I know that Florida sent theirs. Of course, they looked at the wrong line item and sent too much.
That was actually, they sent it for FY25, which isn't due till July 1st.
So,
So,
and did they send the other ones yet?
no.
Okay. So I thought they had, but I will double check with them.
Okay, and the big thing, we just want to make sure, because we're worried that when they have to go back fiscal year, they may have to go to town meeting
Right.
and do all this and then we get the money released, and we just want to make sure we're going to get our.
And those go to the towns, so they weren't on our radar. Now Kelly sends them, copies us, so we know
Okay,
going forward on our radar, just to kind of look for it and ask the treasurers. In the other towns, of course, Kelly's the only, Kelly and Roe, Ben are the only full-time ones. But those, apparently, I guess, one year they weren't sent and another year they were sent, but no one seems to have received them, so I don't know what happened.
okay.
Is that,
I'm not sure what year wasn't sent. I know Donna at one point sent them. It really actually should be going to the town administrator because it's more for budgeting purposes, so they're able to put it in as a budget line from the town to pay Clarksburg. So I can't speak on prior years, but according to them, they went out.
Okay.
We just haven't received them. Whether they didn't know what it was or the calculations, I'm not really sure, but they are all aware that 22, 23, and, no, I'm sorry, 23, 24, and 25 will be due for July 1st.
Okay, so that's all going to be straightened out eventually. I mean, I realize that the towns may have to go to town meeting and they have to
They might not.
investigate, so it's not
for the
that we get paid
2023,
tomorrow.
they
but
may just.
I just want to make sure that we're all on track of how to get that money.
And I just want to confirm that we're sure that 21 and 22 were paid.
According to our accountant, those have been paid and there's
Okay.
nothing that was deducted or an audit.
Okay,
guess that was
I
the
just,
only part
because that was also during the turnover, so I was worried that they hadn't been billed or paid, so that's all.
Okay.
I just wanted to verify that.
And then we did give you a handout from the shared services for the BCR allocation. And I don't know if it's necessary to read the whole thing. Kelly, would it be easier for you to explain it, or?
What, the procedure, the
Yeah.
letter, I would honestly read it out loud, just so they understand it, and if they have questions, then I can step in, but just
Okay.
so it's kind of all out there.
All right, in fiscal year 20, it was decided by the town of Clarksburg and the member towns in Northern Berkshire School Union that Clarksburg would assume the payment of all vendor invoices and all payrolls that were specific to the union office and to the employees who shared their services with the member towns. As a result, employees who shared their services with member towns essentially became employees in the town of Clarksburg. In fiscal year 23, Clarksburg saw its first significant increase in the annual assessment from Berkshire County Retirement, BCR, from $162,121 in FY 22 to $224,964 in fiscal year 23, a direct result of the pensionable earnings of shared service employees being paid entirely by Clarksburg. The member towns would have seen a decrease in their pensionable earnings and likely a decrease in their assessment. The task then was to determine the amount of pensionable wages used in the calculation of the retirement assessment that were actually services to the member towns. A request was made to BCR for the data that they used when calculating the assessment. From there, it was straightforward. Two of the attached spreadsheets were from BCR. One is dated 3/21/22 and the other is 4/18/23. Both are from Brian Shepard at BCR, and both were used to determine the allocation of BCR assessment to the member towns. The logic behind the calculation: separate the pensionable earnings by school and town. Determine the percentage of the school's percentageable wages, of the town's of total wages, and the town's percentage of total wages. Apply those percentages to the total assessment by school and town respectively. Determine the amount and the percentage that shared services pensionable wages are of the total school pensionable wages. Apply that percentage to the school portion of the BCR assessment. Once the shared services portion of the assessment is determined, the next step is to allocate the assessment to the member towns. This is based totally on a spreadsheet provided by the union office, which determines how the wages are charged to each town. This message was approved by the member towns in fiscal 23. Unfortunately, personnel has changed, as had the method of calculating the assessment in BCR. The data provided by BCR for the past 2 years is no longer available. The calculation to determine the amount to be allocated to the member towns for FY 25 was the same, but the data upon which it was based came from payroll. If Clarksburg continues to process payroll for shared services, we request that each town agree to the process going forward. And you can see that there is two other sheets that shows the allocations and the people involved and how it is. So I guess the question, or what we want to make sure, is that all the other towns are in agreement with all this and the percentages, how we're going to calculate them. And Kelly, you probably know more about this than I do. If you want to explain it better or say anything, appreciate it.
These are the same exact sheets, so there's supposed to be one for 1 year and one for the other?
Yeah, but these two are the same.
Yeah.
These two are the same.
Yeah.
Are they supposed to be the same? Because it says there's two different years in that. This is from 3/21, this is from 3/21.
So then with the other one.
I only got one pension board.
Yeah, I only got
Right,
one.
this one.
I only got one.
What date is this one?
These two both have the same date, 3/21.
Yeah.
So they're the exact same copy.
Is it from
Yeah.
two different assessments?
I think they're,
Total
Exactly the
assessment's the same. I remember this. Do we just have different, like, their packets look different or something? Somehow just get collated.
There were only 3 pages in the packet I received from Donna, the letter, that one spreadsheet and then the other, so I didn't have two.
Oh,
of those.
okay.
yeah, I think when we printed them,
We don't know what she's looking at.
I got mixed up.
It
there.
says for us to compare, but.
Yeah, I don't know if we were supposed to
I don't know if she just printed out two of them. I think these are just
Yeah.
two different spreadsheets, just showing you the calculations, really. I think there's only supposed to be one. So we're comparing these. You'll see the bottom of the 64, that matches the 64 over here, and the assessed values on the side. I don't know if this just got printed twice.
Okay, all right, so we're
Is
just
that-
comparing these
So it just,
two.
I think it was just printed twice.
Okay.
Was.
Now, what year was that for? Was that-
Looks like it's 22.
This was 2020.
2022.
Yeah.
That's-
Yes.
Right, that's the year they base it on.
So this was for assessment for FY '23.
Okay, thank you. I just,
So we don't have one that's dated for 1823, correct?
No, correct. That's just a duplicate.
Okay, all right,
It's just one assessment, as an example, I believe.
gotcha.
Thank you.
It's just,
So,
here's just extra.
going forward, that's the big thing, is we wanna make sure we have something in writing from
Yeah, I
other
think
towns and
anything-
everyone's in agreement.
I think anything that has to do with a financial decision should be kind of in black and white, not just verbally discussed. So this moving forward is just saying, we'll get a signature by each town saying that they agree on this. So if they have turnover, we have turnover. At least there's something to reference in how these calculations were determined. Instead of just saying, okay, we agreed on this in 2020, but now we are out all this money. There's nothing really there to say anything. Any proof. So for us to continue it, we would like to have each town sign off on how these calculations are determined. Because originally, and I sent you the email on that, Berkshire County Retirement didn't think we should actually move forward with having all of the shared union employees under the town of Clarksburg just for retirement purposes, and not being able to get an accurate figure because they're basing their calculations differently now. After revisiting that, and I'm talking to Sheila, who, I'm not sure of her position, but she's kind of the top person there. We discussed a little bit further, and FY '25 was honestly probably gonna be the end of shared services and how we are going to continue to have you guys on the payroll. But she said the way that we're calculating it and the way they determine it, because the number of, each employee has a level, employee level number. For example, like a policeman would be a level higher just because they're more at risk. So if something was to happen or if they were to become disabled, we'd have to pay them 72% of their retirement at any age if he was to leave. Where as you guys go, where teachers go, you're not really at the higher risk. So she said we can continue to base it basically just on your annual wages to move forward with that, to continue to pay your school union employees. If that makes sense.
Yep, it makes
most we're gonna
sense.
do is trip over our own feet. And bump into each other in the office.
So then it is feasible to continue and split the retirement between the towns as long as we have it in writing that the
Yeah.
towns all agree that they're going to.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So then getting that written up, I mean, so this is, I think, the start of it, right?
Yeah, so we'll notate something and that will be like the procedure that we'll attach to a letter, basically just asking them to sign off on it.
And who will be driving that, you or us, or how would you like that to happen?
I believe it should be our town administrator, but I will be happy to,
Assist me, yes.
yes.
Okay, so we'll initiate it.
We'll generate a letter to an email to the town administrators of the member communities.
Okay,
So if you could work with me on that, I would be grateful.
And then we'll just attach the
Could
procedure.
you just loop
behind
us
it.
in case people start asking us questions?
Yes,
When do you think that would happen? Just
I'll probably draft it this week,
Okay, so.
just so we have something on our file for July 1.
Okay, so before July 1, they would receive this, so we would think,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that would be the goal. And again, that's why I was, and of course I have a tendency to, I guess, panic, I like to get things done, that type of person. But I just want to make sure by July 1st, we're not in a mess and start off the fiscal year where we all agree. So we'll do, you'll do our part here. And then I think that would be when Madro taking on the other responsibility. I think we're all on the same page, and that's going to be a fairly good compromise of everything, where we can continue on and not having Northern Berkshire School Union getting 5 checks from everybody and things too. So I'm hoping that that'll all work. But I do see urgency where it's already, what, the 16th of June.
So what we're gonna do is, we talked about it, but then we all met, all the treasurers and a couple of the accountants, because some of them have dual roles. And so what we're gonna do is Rhonda's gonna do, when she does her warrant for the union that she normally sends just to you guys at first, she'll send it to everybody. They'll get it, all the towns will have it by Monday morning of the week of payroll, which you guys pay on Thursday. They will all go to the towns by Monday. They will then be able to have their sign-offs from their select board and their school committee, et cetera. And then they will be processing an ACH transaction, which will go in somewhere, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they have that time. And then Kelly and I are gonna touch base, meet, look and see if they're in the bank account, on Monday, every 2 weeks, the following Monday, to make sure the money's going in there. And if it's not, then it'll be up to me to get on the phone with the treasurer and say, hey, what happened? You didn't send your.
Yep.
You
Hey,
didn't-
Dave.
You didn't send your check, you didn't do your automatic deposit, what's up?
Yeah, that's,
So, yeah, there'll be no like lag time and waiting
Oh,
to be
that-
reimbursed.
that
It
sounds
should be a
good.
day, if they send it on the Thursday, that you guys should have it on Friday, possibly Thursday by the end of the day, it depends.
That sounds good, and I appreciate all the work that is done on this to try to get us on the same page, because it wasn't fun, and I don't
And it'll
like
also include the health insurance, so
Yeah,
there'll be
and
one.
we did, our new accountant did start today, and Donna was here, so Donna's training her, so I think we have good people everywhere, and I know we've been in a mess the last 2 or 3 years, and nobody's fault, just the way it was, but, I hope we're moving forward in the right direction. So everybody satisfied with all that? All right, the last thing I just wanted to say, I'm trying to, set up a meeting again with the governor's office in Springfield to start over on the school roof. So, hopefully the end of July, my wife and I are gonna go down and we're gonna talk about what can be done with that. But I just wanted to let the school committee and the school know that we definitely wanna move forward with that and, do the best we can. Any questions, Mary?
I do. So, and I know you've heard this a million times from us, from different people. So I just wanna, because I don't want you or whatever to be wasting time. We've gotten told directly that they would not endorse that roof because we need a whole school renovation. They had decided that, the town voted against it, and they told us it wouldn't be worth our while to even think about putting it in again until we can get the town's backing and be sure of it this time, and, the whole 9 yards. We've been told that, but yet you're saying that you've been told that, so can we
Yeah,
get somebody from the MSBA to
Well,
determine that
it-
before we go to all of this?
Well, that's been the issue is, pretty much because of all that was said. That's why I went to the governor's office, and actually even with, our Senator Mark, went to him and asking, and he was all for it. Let's go down and see what the governor's office says. And this is what happened. We went down and had a good meeting, and I gave him all the list of everything we'd done over the 6 years, and she sat there and said, this is very impressive. She says, I'll see what I can do. So she got a hold of the Lieutenant Governor, who sent me an email, Kim Driscoll, and Kim said that we're very impressed with everything going on. We're going to see what we can do. I'm going to turn you over to A&F, which is Administration and Finance. I mean, they're the ones that control all the money. So it's like, they're the people to deal with. And Danielle Cerny sent me an email and asked if I could have our superintendent contact her. And it never happened. And again, it's sort of what I was obviously a little upset with is that was in November. I was on vacation, and Tara, I think you were on vacation, so there was bad communication, so I won't blame anybody. But I didn't realize, I just found out this last week, because I was investigating it myself, that January started the new round for MSBA. And I thought it was like in the fall because that's when I was dealing with people. So we went through and missed all the March and April deadlines and never even thought about this. And I understand from John's point of view, it's because he was told, don't bother, basically. But I'm hearing from the governor's office, why aren't you people
Doing it.
doing it, contacting me? And so I look a little bit and I don't mind looking a little bit like a fool sometimes, but it was like, gosh, I went through all that and it sort of just hit a dead end. And I'm gonna start to do it again, and I'll just have to go down and apologize that there wasn't follow through, that it was just miscommunication, whatever. And hopefully we get something going. But the thing of it is, yes, the Matt Dunham is very important with the school building association, but it's like above his head. These people saying contact him. I don't know where else money can come from. I don't know what they can do. I don't. They can put pressure and say, "Hey, do 2/3 of it. We'll find another third somewhere," or the town's going to have to come up with a third. And the point about that, I'm going to find out again just what we have to do. When that comes to that communication, obviously either Tara or John's going to have to, contact and see just what we have to do. The second thing is Matt Dunham said, well, we aren't sure the town's on board because they voted the school down. Yes, that's true, but in the 6 years we've been here, we put almost $1 million into the school. We put a lot of labor in the school. We had a committee for the renovation committee. I realize it's not a new school, but we've done the best we could to try to keep it going and to do what we needed to have done. And we're gonna have to keep doing this piecemeal. I don't see us getting a new school. I don't see the town voting for it. So we're gonna have to go through these processes and talk to people and do the best we can to try to get money, like say the lift's gonna be going in July, and now we're gonna try to work on the roof. We'll just keep doing these things and do the best we can to try to get some money for the roof. But the town is behind it, and I take a little offense to that when I still hear, oh, but the town won't back it. We've also, in the town meeting, we put money away purposely for our share. So again, I don't know where it's all going. I may be shot down. We may hit a dead end, but we got to keep trying, and that's what we're going to do. But I will try to communicate better, and I'll keep going to school committee meetings to let people know where we are on this, because it really, if we had a lack of communication when I was on vacation, and Tara and John, and he was talking to the school building site, I'm talking to A&F, and it's like we weren't getting together.
Is there a way to get them to talk?
I think so.
Well, I think another issue here too, and, we had the engineer look at the school. The school's not falling down. It's as
Oh.
solid as the Rock of Gibraltar. Heck, there's not even any settlement cracks in the foundation. But I think the misinformation that was fed to the MSBA, that the school is falling down,
It was crumbling, was the exact
crumbling,
word.
is what they were basing that statement on, and I believe John had that discussion a number of years ago.
Yep.
So we have a new administration. Tom Bona had the engineer look at it. It's solid. And we also had discussion with our representative, John Barrett, because he was led to believe the same thing, and Tom proved that that was not the case. So that being said, I think that it would behoove us to move forward to the best of our ability with all alacrity to get this process going, because we know that there's going to be things that need to be done after the roof. And so if we can check this one off, then we can go to the next project. And I think that the town did stand by it. I mean, we pumped in $1 million over the last 6 years, and we appropriated $500,000 during that debt exclusion in 2019, of which we're just paying off. So I think there is a commitment. I just think that the town is concerned about a $20 million commitment at this point. And, if you think about it, if that had happened and then we had the meltdown in town government, we'd be in receivership right now. I mean, that's just the way it would be. And it happened the way it happened, and it is what it is. You can't change the past, but you can make the future better. And that's really what I think we all are on the same page, that we want a modernized school.
And we
And
want
we're
to
here
keep
to
our
help you. We're not trying to start a fight. We just want to help you, and we need a little bit of cooperation on the other side.
Yeah, and I know too, at the time, 6 years ago, there's asbestos under the tiles and things like this, but, and it was the boilers, they were encased in asbestos. But Erin Scott, she took that on, and she was able to get that all abated, and we got new boilers in there. I mean, again, we won't go through the whole list, but I do feel that that perception, that the town isn't for the school isn't really true. It was, the town was against a new school, and again, I was one. I felt that we have 5 other buildings, town buildings out, and if for a 40-year mortgage is what we were gonna have to have, in 40 years, every one of those buildings are gonna need a new roof, new renovation, and it was like, the school was the most important, but it wasn't the only thing in town, and I felt that that's what a lot of people were looking at.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite 20 million of town money, but anyway.
Right, yeah, it was 6.5.
Yeah, so, when we were getting a ton of money from the state in that process, so it
Yep.
would have, kind of balanced out. But I agree with you, I don't think that this town was in a financial, really healthy place at that time to be able to, with what happened, right after that with the turnover here and all of that. I guess that's the question, I mean, I know that we're in a better spot now, but what we've learned from the Florida project, which John has mentioned many times, is there has to be cash to be able to float this, because you're getting reimbursed on the back end of any kind of MSBA acceleration grant
Yep,
that you're getting. So if we're not able to front that money,
right.
and I don't know where we sit with all of that at this point. I mean, I think that's another real big concern of, we weren't in a good place before. We're just crawling our way out of things right now in this town. I mean, we all know this, right?
Right,
So-
but we can float loans for promises of money coming in, and they're inexpensive loans, and the people will be behind it because they know it's gonna be reimbursed. Carl, you can,
Oh, I was just moving I wasn't raising my hand, teacher.
oh, but,
But at the same time, I think that, we put money into a special stabilization account for the roof. So it wasn't as much as we wanted to, but it's not chump change. So out of 500,000, we put 113 away. So we would only be floating like $300,000 borrowing in anticipation of revenue. So the net cost is going to be interest, which I think we can probably swallow for a year.
plus our stabilization fund is back up. Remember, we had it down to 0, which was really dangerous for a town. And, I think we will do it. We will be able to do it,
Yeah, I don't see it being an issue right now to be able to cover that.
so.
I find it hard to believe like the MSBA is like holds it against us that the town voted that down 6, 7 years ago, and now it's like they're not willing to work with us on anything. It's like I feel like we got to be able to hit the reset button, and
Yeah, I understand. I think the bigger thing is that it's not just the roof. It's windows, it's systems, it's so it's not one thing that's going to make us whole again. And yes, we
Right.
have a solid structure, okay, but there's lots of other things. And then once you hit that threshold of how much work you're going to put in, then you've got all the ADA, right? So I don't even know what that threshold is because this is not my line of work. But I imagine a roof that's 500,000. I don't know if anybody else in this room knows. When do you hit that ticker? So then every bathroom's got to be ADA accessible. Every entrance has to be ADA. I mean, like, that's then going to push us into another line of fixing that. Are we ready to do that? So does anybody in this room know what?
I think it's 30%.
It's I was gonna say I thought it was a
30% of
third.
the assessed value, which, how do you do that? Isn't that what it is roughly?
And I think we got you assessed at like 6 or 7 million, so we're far away from that.
Okay. I mean, I think that, it is, I mean, I agree with you, Dan, and I appreciate everyone's work here to try to figure out what can we do? What are we willing to do? How do we move forward? Because standing still is also not an option either, right? And
But it is a choice to stand still.
Absolutely, right? It is. All of these are choices. So I just think, we've got to have a lot of conversation. The school committee has to, they're the ones who have to be behind, first of all, any kind of movement forward on a vote. I think the public has to really understand and know what we're looking at, what we're asking for, and to know that the roof is not going to be the end of it.
Right,
It's
Oh,
just the very beginning.
Yep.
And if we're choosing in this town to piecemeal over the next 30 years or whatever it is, I mean, it was a choice to get it all done at once, or now we're gonna linger this out. I don't know. Again, this is not my line. It's not my specialty. I never thought I'd be
Right.
talking about buildings like this and systems. I thought I was gonna be talking about educating children, right? But once one thing goes, you put it in place, and then how long does it take until you need to renovate? The other thing that now is out of date because
It's gonna be
doing
an
this over decades.
right. Renovation is
one
gonna be an
shot.
ongoing
It's
thing.
like your
every year.
house.
Yeah, it's like a house for sure. And we understand that. We also, the old school foundation is great. We understand that the
The
new
new part
classrooms
is
there.
not-
Yeah, the new part
that-
is not.
That part
We
eventually
understand
will
that.
have to be
Right.
replaced.
So I imagine the MSBA is probably thinking a little bit of the same thing. So yeah, okay, you want a roof, but
Yeah.
what is your really? We have no long-term plan for this school on paper. We've got no 5-year plan. We're not set up right now to be organized enough to really say, okay, roof is step one, and then by phase 2 we're doing this. I mean, I would think that as a big organization like MSBA who's going to put money out, they want to see a detailed plan of where you're going versus this is like a one shot, here we are. I mean, again, I can't speak for MSBA, I don't know all this stuff, but I think we have to organize
A 5-year plan or
a
something.
plan to really be specific, and we're not there yet.
No,
Doesn't mean that we can't move forward and make that plan, but I mean, how do we do that? How do we go about and start that work?
Well, I think communication with MSBA would be good.
yeah.
Yes.
And also, I want to clarify, MSPA is under the purview of the treasurer of the state,
Is what?
is under the purview of the treasurer of the state.
Well, it's,
A&F is kind of the governor, it's a separate whole,
right.
there's like a, kind of a barrier there.
Well, that's it, and I may find out, and again, again,
Just- I'm
hindsight,
not
I
trying-
wish
I
there was
just
a
want you to know
communication,
that.
because that's where we had to see from when the superintendent called A&F, we were gonna see, okay, we can put pressure on them, we can get around, I don't know what they can do. I mean, the governor, obviously, governor's office runs the state, they have a lot of power, but I don't know how much power they would push and what they would do. But it all sort of just fell apart. And my whole point is I want to let the school committee, especially and Northern Berkshire School Union, I want to all be on the same page. And I don't want it that, oh, we're going to be fighting for piecemeal because that's what we're doing. And no, we don't need piecemeal. We need, well, then we're not going to get anything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see us, I don't think we're in a position where we can do a new school. So we're going to have, in my opinion, and again, I won't even be here probably that much longer, but it's like we have to be on the same page together to fight as a community because that's how we're going to get stuff. Because, if we're fighting among ourselves, we're not going to get anything. So I don't know of a better plan at this point. And I do agree with you. And I don't know who, if it's the renovation committee, maybe Tom Bona, maybe we can get some other people on board that maybe could come up with a 5-year plan, because I realize, principals, teachers, you're not engineers. I'm an engineer, I'm a plastics engineer, I don't know anything about, building, so we would have to try to figure out a plan, and that's not easy, but it may be necessary. But at this point, we're gonna start over again and just see what we can do. And then we'll, once we get to the point where it gets to A&F again or whatever, then we're gonna see, okay, when the superintendent calls and they say, look just put in the MSBA, we got your back. Or they'll say, we're gonna try going another route. Who knows what money because Adam Hines put it in a capital fund. Now granted, it's a wish list, so I mean, billions go into that fund from all senators, and there's only a few billion that gets sent out. So that was like a wish list, but maybe the governor's office has a lot to do with what projects go. So maybe that will go back in there and they say, back this time, we're gonna give you your money.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm sorry, I can't give any more information, but we have to go through the process and answer these questions as they go. And again, we went through 5 years where I was really hoping we could get something, and it didn't happen. So we're starting over again. We may go through a couple more and nothing will happen, but I do believe that the governor's office really liked what we're doing, and they really understand the situation Clarksburg's in. They understand our population, they understand the state owns half the property, they understand all this. And I think they really want to help us. I don't know how, but I'm hoping they will. So anyway, I don't mean to ramble on, but I think it's important we communicate, because I just don't want to go one place and then he do all the work on that end and then find, oh wait, it's a dead end on this end and the school committee's not for it, or the superintendent or whatever. So we'll just keep plugging along and just open communication, and if we run into roadblocks, we'll decide how to try to get around them. That's all we can do.
We appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you all, and I appreciate you coming out on a nice summer night, but I've really thought I want to get this settled, so. Dan, you have anything?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Sorry.
And no, we're not air conditioned, this building's naturally cool.
My house is until the third day.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
all you
coming.
guys are doing
Thank you.
for us.
Okay, we'll come back down to, I put setting the select board date and time. I know we sort of agreed on Mondays at 5. I wanted to make sure if it's the first and third, second and fourth, is that good? Like, is that good if Colton's going to Boston? Would you want to have it later, like 30 or? I didn't know, so
Yeah,
that's
maybe we
why.
can
I put that
revisit it
on.
on the next agenda.
Okay, so we'll table that.
I know we kind of got it off schedule with our weeks here.
We did, and the only reason why I like it, because I like it on the website.
Yeah.
Which should be updated by
Yeah.
when I'm currently been on vacation, but I happened to look at it the other day, and like Jeff Lodanis is still on for selectmen and things like that, so Jason's or whoever has to update the website too. But I wanna make sure people know we're trying to have set times and not just at random, deciding when to meet.
I agree.
Okay, review the sewer commitment to the treasurer for the first quarter. And that is right here. So, for FY 25 first quarter sewer commitment, at their board meeting held June 17th, the select board acting as town sewer commission's motion to approve the FY 25 first quarter sewer commitment as follows. Sewer, $109,558.68. Water, $3,020, totaling $112,578.68. So, I make a motion.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the FY25 first quarter sewer commitment for $112,000
To the treasurer.
to the treasurer for $112,578.68.
That second it? All in favor?
I
Aye. Okay, I put town accountant down. I just want, I know Paula started today and I want to welcome her. But I didn't know if there was any mention, I was worried about her hours, her training and everything like this. And I just want to make sure that,
So far, so good. Donna was in here. They're gonna do more training tomorrow. So I mean, there's an awful lot to know, there, without a doubt. So far, so good.
okay,
I have a question on the account position. Because she's a benefited employee and she's getting paid for holidays, vacation, etc. With her not having a set schedule and just a set amount of hours, for example, Juneteenth is coming up Wednesday. Does she get a certain amount for that holiday pay because she has flexible hours, or how are we moving forward with that?
Well, I think that we're calculating it based on a 24-hour work week.
So would I be paying her for 6 hours for the holiday?
Well, is that what the book references, the employee
It doesn't
handbook?
reference that for a
Yeah.
24-hour employee.
It doesn't reference it for any part-time employees, so I don't know.
yeah, when, I would just figure what would be fair would be, like you say, the percentage of 24 out of 40 would be, take that percentage.
But that's
out
not
of
how we
12
do everything.
Okay, so you
Here.
can, you check into that?
I will review it, yes.
Okay,
And I'll report back next meeting.
all right.
They report to me before that,
Sure.
the payroll.
Okay. All right, Briggsville Dam erosion recommendations. Through the MVP program and Berkshire Regional Planning, we were able to, I believe through a grant, hire John Field, who I believe is from New Jersey or Maryland, but he's an engineer that just deals in erosion of these rivers and streams. And he sent a recommendation to us, and I want to give a copy to everybody here. I don't think there's we're going to go through the Berkshire Regional Planning, and the MVP committee is going to look at this, and we're going to look at his recommendations. So I don't think there's any need to read it all tonight.
Okay.
But I will make sure
Yeah, we can get a copy of it. Or,
that you
is
all
this
get a
my copy or?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
well, we'll make it right after
Okay.
the meeting. But,
Sounds good.
what's good is he's got like 3 or 4 suggestions of what can be done to stop the erosion
Yep.
there, and we'll discuss it as a committee, and then it'll come back to the select board too, and decide what would be best for the town to help stop the erosion at the Bricksville Dam.
Sounds good.
All right, audit update.
I signed a letter of engagement for Adelson to complete the audit and sent it back to them today.
Okay,
Excellent.
sounds good.
I have a question on that, Carl. Was that just for FY '23?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and then the DPW truck I know was voted at town meeting. The
Yep,
past, I was
so-
wondering if.
And we had put in a letter of intent. Now we've solidified that to a purchase. So I had to fill out some documents and more kind of
Okay,
insignificant stuff, if you will, contact and all that kind of stuff. So that went out today also.
all right, and then I know we also voted to a town meeting voted to give money to hire a new
Yep.
employee. And I just, I know they can't start until July because of the
Right.
fiscal year, but I was wondering if there was a.
So Kyle
posting
was
or-
waiting until July to start that process.
Okay, I didn't know if maybe he would post it at the end of June so that they can hire
I
somebody.
talked to him briefly about it today.
All right,
I know he was weed whacking because he's got a guy out on
he
vacation.
does, yeah,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I know. I would think we'd want to try to get someone hired as close to July 1 for the summer months as we
yeah,
as we
that,
can.
I didn't know if you or if he could just come up with a posting so it gets out there so that they can interview, you know.
Yep. We'll work.
They would probably want to get that up on Berkshire Jobs also.
Yep.
Okay, ADA grant application revisions middle. Carl, you updated me, but you can update Dan on.
I submitted the ADA grant before I did the one stop, so that's already gone out the door.
Okay,
So we should know, I'm thinking October, but they said that last year.
Yeah.
And we didn't get notified till February, and we'd had to complete it by June.
yeah,
Which I did have a chat with Ann Goby on that, and I said, you know, they've got to change this.
yeah,
It's a yearly grant, and you're giving us 3 months
to do the work.
to do it.
Yeah,
And so what are you doing with, well, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go down that road.
no, so that's good, but so anyway, it's good that we reapplied and hopefully we can get something for there. And I know we talked about all the grants we're putting in for this year, but already I was thinking, we talked about last time, North Houghton Street looks like it might be the next strap grant
Yeah.
project we want to do. And I know we need to do the engineering.
Yeah, so Kyle and Mark Lavasser already walked it, and there are a couple of issues. Specifically that sidewalk, which will never, no matter how much money you pump into it, will ever meet ADA requirements just because it's,
The steepness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And removing it's not gonna be an easy task either, because in some instances, it goes right up to the house. So we're gonna revisit that, but he's starting to work on
Okay.
what
So
it's gonna
just-
take.
Yeah, we just want to make sure, obviously, that everything's all set so we can put in for that grant next year. So we'll keep getting these grants best we can, because you never know when the state or government's gonna run out of money or have bad times.
Or their printing press runs out of ink.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the digital equity plan, Andy McKeevy, I think his name was.
Yeah, I believe so.
He met with Carl, and then he came up and met at the senior center with Lauren and I, and just discussed, there's a lot of money out there, federal money, that Clarksburg's eligible for some, to update our digital equity plan. And I guess I'll just sum it up that it looks like the library is going to be the best place to actually have a computer station that'll be updated,
Yeah, makes
because
sense.
the senior center, we're there when there's programs, and that
Yeah.
really isn't open much other than that. But what came out of it was, the elderly people, they wanna make sure, there's money to train elderly, to make sure elderly can also use the internet and training, and, Lauren had a good conversation with him and told her the fears that the older people have of paying bills online, of
Yeah.
answering things online, they're just whatever. And he said that part of this is, there's money out there for training, and that would be something they do at the senior center,
Yeah.
or whatever.
And one other item, Andy and I discussed, and I believe Jason was there too, is in addition to folks, who are over 60, such as myself, that early school children should also be taught early on computer usage, rules of the road, and how to be safe on the internet. And what we were thinking is, I don't know if you start at kindergarten or first grade, but this is a tool that they're going to be using for the rest of their lives. I can remember with the Osborne, it looked like a nuclear backpack thing type of, the green screen type of thing, in 1980. I'm dating myself quite a bit, obviously. But I do remember, we didn't have a lot of training. And I think that if we're consistent and we treat the needs of the people, we should have better experiences with the web.
Yeah, and they're also gonna take a look at like, the Wi-Fi in the park, because the Wi-Fi is not great at,
It's terrible.
yeah, it's terrible.
Let's
So that's
call
all
it the way
part
it
of
is,
too.
and that's a direct result of Spectrum. And I won't get into that in any great
No,
detail.
but they're
it's their
gonna
fault.
look at that also, so
Yeah.
it looks like, they're really, gonna look into this and do some things, so
Excellent.
that's a great thing. And make sure you knew about that.
No, thank you for the update.
All right, are there any public comments? Is there anything else that anybody wants to add? I guess at this time, then we will, adjourn the meeting at 5:48.
Okay, you're clear.
Thank you.